Hey everybody, welcome to the Nightly Grind. Tonight is February 16th, 2018. It's been a few weeks. We've had things to deal with, but we're back in. So we'll jump right into it. There was some interesting information out of a video game researcher that I saw this week called Superdata. They released their 2017 year in review, and essentially they look at game sales for the most part, but they break it down more than just how many games sold. They said that free-to-play games accounted for 69% of the $33 billion PC game market, which I thought that was crazy. 69%, it's nuts. League of Legends led all games with an estimated $2.1 billion, followed by Dungeon Fighter Online, which pulled in $1.6 billion, and Crossfire, which managed $1.4 billion. World of Tanks was 471 million, Dota 2 406 million, which is just crazy numbers. Divinity Original Sin 2, which I really liked, actually made it onto the top 10 list for premium games, which are not free to play, essentially. And they said it made $85 million, which put it between Guild Wars 2 and Rainbow Six Siege. But apparently it was pointed out that those numbers are odd because they only sold 1.3 million units, which even if you didn't account for like Steam's cut and price differences in regions, it wouldn't have made $85 million if they sold 1.3 million units. And they ended up explaining how they got that number somehow. I don't know the difference. Anyways, it was called into question. But nonetheless, they made a lot of money on that game. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds pulled in $714 million, which was 12% of the premium PC revenue. So, huge game this year. 12% of revenue for any non-free-to-play game. It's crazy.
That's a lot of money for, what do you say, like 5 or 6
Not
people
surprising.
spending, Ben?
For 5
Is
or
that
6
your
people?
is it your argument against most of the free to play stuff where I say it's a moneymaker and
The whales. Yeah, the whales make all. Yeah,
like,
the whales.
only like such a small portion of the everybody.
Well, a lot of people put in small amounts, but there are a select few that put in 1,000 or something.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you're dealing with what was your exact percentage of the market was free to play?
Oh, 69%.
Yeah, when you're dealing with 70% of the market and you're saying that that's pretty much been the majority of the moneymakers, it's not the whales that are carrying that. So it's not the whales that are, even if it's a small portion that are paying a lot more than everybody else, the portion that everybody else is paying in is probably greater than what the whales are putting in.
Well, the whales aren't carrying things like League of Legends or things like that. The whales will carry little games, you know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, well, the little games only make it because of that. But what I'm saying is that it still justifies what I've been saying, which is the format itself is designed to make people want to spend money, and that's why it works. It's not that if the games, they're going to continue to make games like that because that's where the profits lie.
Yeah.
So that's what it just boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, League of Legends is $2.1 billion, and you really don't have to spend any money on that game. It's crazy. How they make it every single
Hasn't
year.
League of Legends been dropping though?
No, it went up from last year. It was 1.9, I think they said last year, and now it's 2.1. It's crazy.
It's still the aspect where whales
A
aren't.
lot of that's China.
It just died.
The whales aren't carrying close to 70% of the market.
No. I wouldn't say the big
average
dogs.
People spending $5 or $6 a week. It's just, if you have 1 million people putting $5 into a game a week, that's $5 million a week, and that's a low end of what even the most casual players playing into it. You know what I mean? They're asking, instead of asking for games for their birthdays, they're asking for $20 gift cards for League
or World of Tanks.
Well, if they're making 1.2 billion, it's probably 5 times
2.1 billion.
Well, I'm just making the general argument that you might have a whale that goes $1,000 a week, but that's pennies compared to the million other people playing the game that are basically putting $5 in a week or even $2 a week at that point. So it's inconsequential. The whales aren't the ones pushing the market to do that. It's the average everyday gamer that's pushing the market in that direction. And like I said, this is the old school Korean style gaming mentality, which is you could give them the game for free and then you basically charge them for everything else. And it's all ancillary. It's nothing that really makes any difference to the game. Which Dungeon Fighter Online is a great example. I messed around with that game for a while. It's a horribly animated 2D side scroller that's very akin to like old school like 8-bit graphics. It is not a very like powerhouse game, but everything in the game is all behind the paywall. You know what I mean? So it's like you can do it. It's just like League. You can basically do anything you want to in the game and spend a ton of time working towards the content, or you can just buy it outright.
What are these like numbers? Are these just from DLC and game sales? Is it like people going to so the people going to the National League of Legends?
No, I think it's just in-game things. Yeah.
Or
it doesn't account for
figurines, or I mean.
It doesn't count for any of that stuff. Yeah, it doesn't count for like merchandise and things like that. From what I saw, in-game purchases and purchasing the game itself. Essentially is what it boils.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's just it's profits on the game side, not anything.
No peripherals or things like that. That I could tell. But the article didn't go into that much of depth about it. But it seemed like they were just talking about purely game sales.
Well, they don't want you to know how much distributors get out of the whole merchandise.
Well, I'm sure the merchandise side is considered different, because otherwise you couldn't really compare like. Otherwise, it may not compare the same, because when you think about the merchandising rights that you get with
change all the time.
With Blizzard games in particular. I mean, Warcraft, you're not counting BlizzCon into that equation. You're not counting the amount of money they make.
I don't see Warcraft on there at all, because it's a freaking terrible money. God, it's a bad game. Guild Wars is on that list.
What I mean by Guild Wars is
that was there on there as a premium game.
Yeah, because you have to buy in.
You need to buy it, yeah.
But you don't have to pay monthly for it, which is freaking stupid.
Which is also the reason why it has a in-game market where you can buy stuff just like Warcraft does. So it's what I'm saying is that it's still the aspect of there's still the mentality like the same thing on that. But they're not adding in other aspects on that. I'm sure League has its own aspect of real game market where people are buying stuff that's League trademarked. But I mean, that the same thing goes with any game like that. Anything that's been around for a while has got trademark to it. Where, like I said, if you had in Blizzard, I wasn't using Warcraft as an example of game. I was just saying that the trademark aspect of Warcraft is extremely high. You know what I mean?
Movie.
Not only that, but you're dealing with the books, you're dealing with the trading cards, you're dealing with figures. There's a trading card game based around Warcraft before they actually made Hearthstone. So I don't think it's actually legit anymore, but it is there.
There's a board game for League of Legends.
Yep.
Mechs and Minions or something like that. It's called Minions and Mechs, something like that.
So you're dealing with, like I said, I think they're just probably going base level sales of like how much money League took in financially just from their game side, not from their tournament side, because that's kind of something different. Yeah. So.
And they may not make a heck of a lot off of that. I don't know.
I think it does. It's free advertising for them.
Well, they probably have people who sponsor it. Coke
without a doubt. Well, they got all the everybody's using custom rigged PCs and everybody's using the same gear.
Yeah,
they're all using the same keyboards because they're sponsored by Corsair or whatever company's doing it. So I mean, that's corporate sponsoring for them. They're definitely getting a kickback on that. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. But like I said, I doubt they're adding that into the equation because that's something.
Yeah, but they still have to earn it. They still have to do like events for Corsair. They still have to do all that.
Well, of course, it's like sponsorship anyway. Just the fact that you have the people are watching the event, they're watching whatever teams are playing, and they're playing on that gear. So without a doubt, they're like, I'm sure before Bone, you went to a tournament. I'm sure there's probably plastered everywhere for the specs of computer wise because it's like that for any
I never noticed it if they did.
I mean, even going so far back when you're going about like CS, back in the day with Fatality. Fatality now is pretty much on almost anything. What game?
I bet you, even if you didn't.
Corsair did Fatality stuff for a little while.
Yeah. But I mean,
creative, like Sound Blaster.
Creative, Sound Blaster, the cards. But they also had the creativity or the issue game, the graphics cards that were Fatality branded graphics cards, the motherboards. So I mean, that's the same difference. It's all just the aspect that they're.
I have a power supply that's an OCD that's a Fatality.
A Fatality power supply. Oh my god!
I'm just saying that's just the same. That's just he signed a contract to have his name attached to that product. That's all it is. Same difference. It's. Whenever League of Legends does the tournaments, they have to be playing on this system. They have to be using these keyboards. They have to be using these mice. They got mice.
I think the mice and keyboards are the players. They take their own mouse and keyboard in. And that's whoever their sponsor is.
And I'm sure they're sponsored by them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Razer or whoever. Yeah, absolutely.
They were making the gear for them, and they signed that nice big contract to hawk their gear.
That's how they make their money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I thought it was an interesting little read. And they had every list that they did, but those were just some of the highlights. Nintendo has officially announced that they're partnering with Illumination Entertainment, which is the animation studio behind Despicable Me, the Minion movies, Secret Life of Pets, and they're going to be making a Mario movie. They didn't have many other details other than this is happening.
And Nintendo thinks this is a good idea. Why?
I don't know, but apparently Mario's hot right now.
Mario's always been hot.
It is.
Rarely does a video game translate into a movie very well.
Well, the original Mario movie was amazing.
John Leguizamo.
The original Mario movie was so bad it was good. It's a horrible.
It came around to bad a second time, I think.
It's a horrible movie. It's so bad it's actually entertaining. It's to me it hits that point of a bad movie that's actually good, but
at least it's animated this time. That gives a little bit of hope, I think.
What's the storyline going to be?
There's no details whatsoever. I wonder if they'll use the.
It's going to be walking product placement for the movie. Is what it's going to be.
I wonder if they'll use like Cappy.
An hour and 30 minutes of Mario hawking Nintendo shit.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm sorry, but that's all it's going to be.
Probably.
They'll hit all the bases.
I wonder if it's going to be like from the game, and it's going to be some weird humans and just like strange humans and Mario.
If it's all animated, it's going to be an hour and 30 minutes of hawking of Nintendo shit. It's going to start with the old plot point of he's got to go save the princess, and it's going to be progressing through everything that they've done. They're going to have a Mario Party bit. They'll have a Mario Kart bit. They'll bring in all the IP from
Zelda.
Nintendo.
It'll be like Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah,
exactly. I like to see him whore himself out.
That'll be the entire fucking movie.
A rated R.
I like it to be realistic. Like he gets a bad drug opioid problem, and then he has to whore himself out for a while.
A rated R
feel good story at the
Mario end, animated film.
Just pushes the envelope.
Yeah, I like it. Like Logan, but with Mario.
For the whole family.
So Reservoir Dogs Mario.
Exactly.
Where the story's going to start with Mario laying on some stairs, bleeding out through a gut wound, and we'll go through the story backwards and how he got there.
Good.
That would be awesome.
Story backwards, yeah.
You know?
Terrible.
Get Morgan Freeman to do the voiceover. How did I even get here?
That's a very Mario-like voice. So
I mean, honestly, what is it? That's the only thing I could see.
Yeah.
An hour and 30 minutes of just hawking Nintendo shit. He'll be using like his control, his phone or whatever he uses in game will be the controller for the new system. You know,
the Switch.
Yeah, it's just that's all it's going to be.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know.
Marketed for kids.
I mean, the animation studio is not like the greatest animation studio, but they've done some good movies thus far. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm not saying they didn't, but I mean, realistically, it's a Mario movie. What it's going to be about him trying to save the princess, and it's going to literally go. It's going to be shiny and pretty for the kids, and nostalgia for anybody who's old enough to remember all the Nintendo stuff. So it's going to be nothing but Nintendo Plays products. He's going to go through all these different worlds. He'll meet Metroid. He'll meet Link. He'll meet Zelda. He'll do go-karts.
Donkey Kong Jr.
He'll have tennis. Wario and Luigi, or Waluigi will be in there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they'll be the villains.
They're going to go crazy with everything, and it'll literally just be nothing but hours upon 2 hours of just nostalgia, and it'll go nowhere. You know what I mean? So that's
I think you're thinking of the Ready Player One movie.
That was all 80s nostalgia.
Yeah. Although if you watch the trailers,
that's probably.
If you watch the trailers, it's not all 80s nostalgia anymore. Anyways, that's for another time.
Yeah.
In other movie-related news, according to Cinelinx, Disney held a meeting with EA executives to discuss what is going wrong with the Star Wars video games. And they also apparently reached out to Activision and Ubisoft to see if they would be interested in the license, which would be very interesting because recently, who would they close down? EA closed down a studio that was working on a new Star Wars game, and they just shifted it to Vancouver or somewhere else.
That just shows you how important that story was when everybody was freaking out about it a fucking month and a half ago. When realistically nobody can remember the fucking name of the company and what it was in the first place.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
So But yeah, they were working on one, and that was supposed to be something along the lines of a Naughty Dog game.
Sorry, I got a few other things
well,
going on in my life right now. Can't
remember the fine details.
I'm just saying it shows you how important that stuff really is in the long run. It's
I think it was just like I think more of it was just like EA ate another company, you know, like that. It was that stuff.
I'll repeat.
Dude, I hope it's not Activision. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope it's Ubisoft and not Activision.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, I think the bigger problem with this is that
it's the lesser of two evils, maybe.
I think the bigger problem with this is the fact that Disney is obviously not really concerned about. They're more concerned about giving it to a company that has pedigree than giving it to somebody that might actually do good work with the product. That's been something the problem is all Star Wars games, or the majority of them, have been shit. LucasArts games have always been low ball. Of all the games that have come out, there's only like one or two titles most people look back and think fondly of.
Knights of the Old Republic would probably be number one.
But see, Knights of the Republic is definitely number one.
It's what's it called? BioWare.
Yeah, and like I said, that was kind of what put BioWare. Yeah, I think that put BioWare more or less on the map.
Kind of, yeah.
But it's one of those things where most of the other games are just they've never been a good thing. They've been quickly hashed out for $1, and they're basically selling it off of the IP. You know, it's a Star Wars game. Star Wars nerds are going to buy it. You know, and that's been the general thing with most Star Wars games.
Movies related video games in general.
True, very true.
Jedi Academy was pretty good.
Yeah, Jedi Academy. I mean, the Stormtrooper game, a lot of people say was very, very good. I never played it. I think it was a Cube exclusive.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know it.
But
the old Battlefront 2.
Yeah, and about the original Battlefront. But I always thought the original Battlefront was crap. But, you know, it's just, it's yeah, I didn't like the original Battlefront. I thought it was very boring.
I never really played it.
Yeah. So.
Bite your tongue.
But I mean, they're few and far between when you consider the amount of Star Wars games that have been released, and there's been a fuck ton of Star Wars games released.
Yeah.
So I mean, why not give it to, like I said, if they're giving it to these companies that are just going to throw some studio they've already bought and throw it into it? I mean, Ubisoft owns a lot of under studios, even though they're technically all Ubisoft, just like EA, you know. And Activision, oh dear God, if Activision gets their hands on it, so it'll just be Call of Duty Star Wars, which. Well, basically what we have with the Battlefront right now, which is just Battlefield Star Wars. So, we'll see.
Right. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. According to IGN, Sea of Thieves is going to be adding microtransactions about 3 months after its original release date. So they're skirting around the Battlefront 2 fiasco of having microtransactions right at the beginning, and they're just going to add them later on, so nobody thinks about it until after they bought the game.
It's yet again, you just said the earlier story. 70% of the game market is being supported by basically in-game transactions.
Yeah, well, this is a game you pay for.
I understand
$60, and apparently it's fairly shallow gameplay.
How many games come out today that don't have that mechanic added into them in one way or another?
Yeah.
So yet again, the question is it actually going to be content behind the paywall, or is it going to be 100% nothing, where it's just like
cosmetics,
hats?
Yeah, it's
parrots,
probably
doesn't add anything to the
game. Probably going to be cosmetics would be my guess for Sea of Thieves, but the $60 price tag apparently is people are looking at because it doesn't have a heck of a lot of variability in the gameplay right now. Maybe next year or the year after, you know, as they start adding on to the game over time, then it'll be worth it. But for now, apparently, it doesn't seem like it's a $60 game.
Like I said, we don't know if it's definitely.
I'm interested in it, but I don't know
if it's going to have something behind the paywall where it's like to get content or a pay-to-win aspect where certain people could spend money and get advances or better gear in the game, then there's a serious issue with the thing. But if it's cosmetics, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I've always said,
well, I think it's a slippery. I think the problem is that it's a slippery slope.
That's your fucking thing.
Yeah, I agree to some degree, but it is a slippery slope as well. So I don't know how I feel about it.
It's not a slippery slope. The market has shown and proven that this is the kind of content people are willing to spend money on, whether it's a free to play game or not. You know, so if it's there, like I said, there's nothing. Just live with it. If it's, like I said, as long as it's not built into the game where you have to buy content in order to play the game or to effectively have fun or to achieve anything in the game, then who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
my only concern would be that they over time, which would move away from it just being cosmetic.
Yeah, it was like I said.
That's the only thing I would say. CD Projekt Red is registered for E3 2018, so maybe we'll get a look at Cyberpunk.
First video? First video, maybe.
Maybe we'll get well, they had a video, but it was nothing. So yeah, maybe we'll get to see something from Cyberpunk, because I'm ready to see something from them. There was a bunch. Go ahead.
Dead before this out.
You'd be dead before it comes out. Yeah, it's been a long time, and they just had their that we talked about like a month or two ago, where their Twitter account suddenly came online and posted like one word or something. So maybe something stirring. We'll see. Red Dead Redemption 2 had a bunch of leaks a few weeks ago. Among the many of them were they talked about multiplayer modes. They're going to have a battle royale, a revive and survive, and a money grab, which sounds like a heist type thing. They're going to have a GT Online style apartments in the form of camping tents, which sounds interesting. There's going to be a companion app to launch alongside the game. There's no details about that. The main campaign and multiplayer are fully playable in first person, but most people, I would assume, are going to be playing in the third person, like
which
GTA.
Is stupid because Grand Theft Auto was awesome when you were in first person.
It is.
Nobody liked playing it,
but it is easier in third person. But it is fun to play in first. Eagle Eye is returning. I don't know anything about Eagle Eye. The article calls it Eagle Eye, but some people were saying it's probably Dead Eye. I don't know. I didn't play.
Dead Eye was just slow motion bullet time, where you could basically, when you basically think of it as like the old style like Western quick draw, where like the hero would pull the gun out and fire 6 shots and kill 6 people before they even get done drawn. That was the whole Dead Eye or whatever in the first game, where it's like you could basically activate it and it would go in slow motion, but your character would be more or less moving in real time. So,
like Fallout style. With the VAT system?
Kinda like that, but more along the line
like Counter-Strike sort of time.
It was more along the lines of you actually had. It would be more accustomed like old school bullet time with like Max Payne, where everything would slow down and your character you could easily aim and take shots.
It went Matrix, Max Payne, Counter-Strike.
And we lost him. The last thing I think my favorite is fishing is going to be an activity in the game. So let's face it.
This game is going to be Grand Theft Auto in the desert. Yeah. That's all. I mean, that's all this
and
is.
Instead of shark cards, they're going to have wagon cards or something. Yeah.
What's wrong with that, though?
The shark cards?
The main issue with it would be basically the same issue I think we've all had.
With it being Grand Theft Auto in the desert.
Because what Grand Theft Auto 5 is evolved to. Because it's the aspect of Grand Theft Auto was, the lore behind Grand Theft Auto is doing illegal things, making money, and being able to buy more shit in the game, to have fun doing more illegal things, to make more money, to buy more illegal shit in the game. And the economy is such where it is, you can go rob a bank and basically have barely enough money to reload your fucking ammo for the guns you used at a mission. Oh, but you can spend $40 and get $3 billion in in-game money. Yeah. That will buy you half a car.
And they made a shit ton of money on those shark cards.
Yeah, and it to me is that's the problem I would have with the way that this game is going to go. It could have the best thing in the fucking world. It could be awesome, Wild West, all kinds of cool stuff. But I already can see the aspect of pulling off some amazing bank heist and basically having barely enough money to do goddamn anything, or even to play a bank heist mission, doing like they have in Grand Theft Auto, where one person's got to put $500,000 up to even do the mission, and then basically barely end up making.
Dude, it's like 1830s. The economy is way.
No, the economy may be that way, but it's going to. I guarantee it's going to be completely overridden with that. It's going to just be.
You got to upgrade that tent.
Yeah, you can't have you want a Palomino, not an Appaloosa. Force. I mean, you got to have the horse with spots. It's stuff like that, and it's like I said, that's what concerns me about it. So I'm not gonna buy it on release.
You make it sound like it's like Grand Theft Auto meets Oregon Trail.
That's what it's gonna be.
That's what it's gonna be like. Yeah, I think it is.
That's what it's gonna be. I'd be willing
go shoot
to
buffalo.
I can't.
No, you go fishing.
And fishing. Yes.
I'll be willing to bet this right now that I think the setting of the game takes place after the last one, and the last one I believe took place in the 1870s, 1880s. It was late. It's more towards the end of the actual
Western
style. Well, I guarantee you they're gonna add like early cars in the game. I guarantee you they'll add early cars in the game. So everybody will be putting around in an old style fucking car. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
Stagecoaches.
That'll be like one of those million coin.
Will be the early cars. That'll be 10 times better than a horse.
Yeah.
You'll be fucking off-roading in a car with no suspension. You know what I mean? So it's just, I guarantee
sheer cliffs.
Yeah. Just So and they'll add in all kinds of other crazy shit like that. They'll add in like hang gliders and hot air balloons that'll move 90 miles per hour across the map because they got to add more content in there if they make people want to buy their fake money to buy the shit in game. So I mean, they're not going to be just dealing with Colt Navy pistols and the Peacemaker and Remington lever actions. They're going to be adding in all kinds of crazy shit. They can overprice in the economy to get people to buy whatever their fucking shark cards are going to be called. Because that's the same thing they did that, armored train, it just they're gonna go nuts with that shit just to push the economy.
Yeah.
So
I'm concerned about that as well because they've done so well with it on GTA. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they add it?
It's gonna be the same exact system in the Wild West.
Yeah.
So
just make it a grind to get any sort of coinage.
Without a doubt, and that's the biggest downfall of Grand Theft Auto 5. Is that the content they provided was fun, but you go through it super fast, and there's no point in playing it again because there's no profit to playing it. It's not like if you get it better, you make more money. You know what I mean? You're basically breaking even at the best of the case. So, and now they'll do the same exact thing with that. So,
I'm very concerned. I'm excited, but I'm also concerned. EA confirms that Anthem will arrive in 2019 in order to avoid October's Battlefield launch. So they've also sort of confirmed that it's going to be a Battlefield game this year.
Interesting. What is it going to be?
I don't know. No other info. The only thing we know is that they
were talking about Battlefield Bad Company 3.
Yeah, I think that turned out to be not necessarily true. I mean, I guess it's always a possibility, or it could be next year's Battlefield or something along those lines. But they haven't confirmed anything with Battlefield. I'm sure we'll probably see it at E3 would be my guess.
It'd be the most logical thing.
Yeah, that's coming
considering
up.
That was what was
3 months.
Yeah. So, and like I said, that'll be the most logical thing to go with, unless they've really gone crazy. Like I said, I still think it would be awesome for them to see. Even with they couldn't really do it with the Battlefield 1 with the engine, but it would be, like I said, I'd still like to see like a Korean War or a Vietnam and just go with another, like I said, I think that they did that with the current engine. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'd like them to see them updated a little bit, have more destruction.
No,
not enough destructible.
The technology just doesn't work that way anymore, man.
Yeah. We did it 10 years ago.
10 years ago, we could do it. Technology's just regressed.
10 years, you could level every building in the game.
You could cut down every tree in the game.
Yeah, that's right. You could cut down every tree. That was actually really cool on some of the maps because you could just cut down the cover that they had and just.
Well, that was the cool thing because the map would start, and at the end of the map, it wouldn't even look like the map you started on. It would just be flat. Yeah. Because everything would be blown up and
trees are just gone.
Especially the one map that was filled with buildings, the one city map they had. And remember, it was like a huge town.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the map, the entire area would be flat because as the fight would go progress across, around the houses, all the checkpoints would get blown up. And then as people would take checkpoints and then fall back to defend, houses would start to just keep getting blown up as you go through. It was awesome. Then it would be a clear pissing fight through all the rubble. They went in the wrong direction with that, as far as I'm concerned. They should have stuck with that total destructive stuff. So
yeah, I really liked it. Well, I understand why they wanted to eliminate it to some degree because they do want to control the map a little bit more, and and you could blow up the building the objective was in and go skirt around actually taking the objective.
That was but they kind of went to the deep end on that. That was one of those things, because anybody who's not familiar with that, what you could do is load up like 5 charges of C4 on the front of an ATV and just have the guy
run into
the building and then detonate it, and it would take out the MCOM when you were playing Rush.
Yeah.
It was only on the Rush maps because you have just the capture objectives, you didn't have that issue.
Right.
So you didn't have defending some of the stages, defending the MCOMs was impossible because they would just rush it with vehicles.
It was outside, and there wasn't even any way to protect it whatsoever. Yeah.
So, and that was definitely an issue, but they kind of went in the wrong direction. They should have just went to the point of the MCOM doesn't get blown up when somebody does that; it still has to be taken. And then that would have been more interesting because you went from an MCOM being in a building, which you could get inside and do something with, and then defend the building and try to keep people from getting inside to. Once the building was broken and the MCOM would be sitting there, there's no way you could run up unless you had smoke grenades attached. Yeah. And then it would turn it more into, the asshole snipers out there would just cover it and shoot you before you get inside, or near it. So, but like I said, it was the wrong direction they went, in my opinion.
Yeah, they should. I mean, I understand making some things not being able to be destructible, but they went really far and only made like a few select things that you can blow up now. So I wish they'd tweak that a little bit. Anyways, that's way off topic. The Nintendo Switch outsold the Wii U in just 10 months, which I thought was really crazy. So they've been selling a lot of Switches, and they didn't sell that many Wii U's. I think it's probably more.
There's a lot of people hanging out on top of roofs.
Bringing it over to friends' houses and playing at dinner parties.
That's not really a good matrix as far as I'm concerned. Now, if they went back with the Wii U, not the Wii U, the whatever the first system was it the Wii U?
The Wii?
Yeah, if they went with that, then that would be a better matrix. But the last system they did was a more or less commercial failure.
The Wii U, yeah, that's what they're.
It was a commercial failure.
Well, the Wii sold like crazy. I don't think the Switch is selling like the Wii yet.
But I'm saying that's a better matrix. To say that's like going, that's a bad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is in just 10 months.
Or a bad example.
I mean, it's because the Wii U was portable.
It's not really portable. It's small. They're both, they're all small.
Well, not just that, but they went too far to the cliche because the U was more along the lines of it was like one controller had a built-in monitor on it, more like a laptop to a point.
Yep.
And then the other players wouldn't have it. So it had some interesting aspects to it, but it was just they never really it really didn't have the same like catch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That the stupid I can wave my arm around and do dumb shit and it does it on the screen did with the original system. So they kind of went too cliche even for Nintendo.
Yeah, it was too gimmicky, I think, at that point.
Like I said, they had some really awesome ideas around it. Like I said, it's a shame that they kind of killed because it was like a lot of people were really thinking about the elements that you could do with that, because you could do a lot of interesting game elements with that system. So you could have even to go total nerd, like a Dungeons and Dragons setup where like the person with the actual pad could control could like set dungeons up and do shit, and the players would have to play through. So like think like a Diablo-esque game where everybody else is playing through something and the one guy's sitting there setting up like what they have to fight their way through and shit. But they just the technology, I think, was just, it's Nintendo. They didn't really utilize it in the best way they could.
So the Wii U total number is 13.56 million over from December of 2012 to 2016. They sold 13.56 million. And Refly said Wii sales worldwide.
To throw the Wii U through your TV.
The Wii sold 101.63 million as of March 31st in 2016. That's crazy. 101 million units. That's nuts. So yeah, 13 million for the Wii U is not stellar, to say the least. But the Switch has already sold roughly that much, which is crazy. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Epic is closing Paragon on April 26th of 2018, and they're offering full refunds to anyone who made purchases. I saw that they had like a thing on for Twitch Prime users. You can get Paragon stuff in game. I guess they want people to play it for the last month. I don't know. But it's like a FPS MOBA thing. but they're closing it. I think they're probably putting the whole team onto a Fortnite or something like that, which is actually making them money.
Yeah, they're printing money with that.
Yeah. Finally, Relic has decided to end work on Dawn of War 3 as it moves on to new projects. Dawn of War 3's loyal player base was deemed too small to justify further investment in the game, with Relic and Sega chiefs expressing doubt that updates could turn things around. You played Dawn of War 3, right?
No.
Really?
No, I originally looked at it and was watching a lot of the stuff on the pre-release for it, where a lot of early access stuff, and I was listening really closely. I've been a huge fan of the Dawn of War series. It's been a really, really good series.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the direction they were taking it with Dawn of War 2. I thought it was really cool with the RPG elements they added. I know some people weren't happy with that, but I liked it. But yeah, they completely dropped the ball in 3 from what I heard. That's what a lot of people were saying pre-release, that the game just did not, all the things that made Dawn of War cool, they kind of took out and then added in all of it, just elements that were not what, yeah, people want to take this as a negative thing, but it's like more like along the lines of a StarCraft type game, which if you want to play StarCraft, go play StarCraft. And if you want to play a Relic game, you want that more brutal, realistic, cover-based, crazy type game engine, and they just took all of that out. And
it had like MOBA elements too, right?
It had. Some people say it had MOBA elements, some people didn't. I think the problem is that they added points to the game where if you had units standing inside the point, they couldn't be damaged by anything. You had to have troops to go in there and get them off that point. So like they would have like a force field around them, so nothing could kill them. And I think that was the MOBA, what people were comparing to MOBA, because it got to the point where it's like sitting under a turret in League, you know, and it's literally the only way you could counter them was by sending in other, like an exact, kind of like a rock, paper, scissors thing. So, you know, they'd have something in there that could be extremely strong against melee, and you'd have to send melee troops into them. Then it just becomes a dump. You know, so it's kind of a disappointing thing they did that. So hopefully this doesn't tank Relic, because I like Relic. I've always liked Relic games. I think they just shit the bed on this one. So,
well, it seems like they're just moving on to something else.
Well, now Relic is currently working on the next Age of Empires.
That's right.
God only know how that's going to work.
And Relic the Age of Empires remastered or whatever.
I don't know if they're doing the remaster.
Oh, really?
The remaster
that could be true.
Could be slapping is upgrading an old game. That's all it is. It's Age of Empires 2 with a fresh coat of paint.
Is it 2 or 1?
2.
I don't know.
Haste would know. He's like a freak when it comes to that shit. But no, so I'm curious. Like I said, maybe Relic will right a sinking ship, but I hope not, because like I said, I like Relic games. I've been a huge fan of the Dawn of War series up until the 3rd, and I'm still a huge fan of Company Heroes.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to see them go away. I'd like to see Company Heroes progress and continue to, you know, be a standout RTS style game.
Well, Sega bought them, 2 years ago now?
Longer than that, actually.
3 years, I guess Company Heroes hadn't even come out yet, or 2 hadn't come out yet.
That was the big thing, because it was getting ready to be released.
And
then people were really concerned over whether or not they would have any effect on the game, and they definitely had an effect on the game, because they added in elements which you could really, really tell were influenced by an outside source, because they, you know. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, not buy the game, which is pretty much what happened with Dawn of War 3. The reason it didn't sell well in its initial release, because people saw what the game was. They made the mistake of releasing it to a lot of people and having people stream it, and those people generally came out and went, "This is not a Dawn of War game. This is definitely not what we were expecting." And from what I've heard, the part of the Relic team that had worked on the new Dawn of War didn't even know anything about Dawn of War. They had no clue about the 40K universe. They had no real idea of the previous games and elements. So you basically had you had a dev team working on a game. They had no concept of what they were doing, which is a bad idea. It might be because the team that's doing that is working on Age of Empires, which might be interesting. So we'll see.
Kingdom Come Deliverance released, I think it was this week or last week.
Yeah, it came out this week Tuesday.
Has anybody actually seen any of it? It looks really cool. It's a new new role playing. You have it?
Yeah, I kickstarted it like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It looks really cool. You play like an everyman. You don't play like
fantastic.
The greatest hero in the world, which is kind of cool.
I've played maybe I think 6 hours into it. No, that's not the right button. I don't want Steam to start because Steam's already started. How many hours do I have? And no, wow, I closed Steam then.
So it's a role playing game set in medieval times. And apparently some people are having frame rate issues. Are you experiencing any of that?
I am not. I've had no issues with the game whatsoever.
It sounds very user specific. Frame issues that people are having.
A lot of the stuff I read on it really strikes me as ID10 issues, or ID10T issues.
Yeah.
People that don't know enough about their computers. I got 6 hours in it so far.
Yeah.
People that don't know enough about computers to understand what it means. Now, the one general thing I've heard is the minimum requirements on it are a laugh, which means that if you have the minimum requirements, you're not going to be able to play the game. But yeah, it's okay. Think about it as Skyrim. That's the closest thing you can really compare it to, with the way the game plays and feels and acts to a point. But then
what's the minimum requirements?
I don't know what the minimum requirements are for it, honestly, but that's the one thing I've generally been reading on, which is people that said that the minimum requirements are not what the minimum requirements should be. So, it's like, think of it as Skyrim to a point, but that's just the general like style of the game, and then from that point forward, it's completely different than Skyrim. The combat system is extremely in depth. If anybody's played For Honor, it's like For Honor, but a hell of a lot more complex. You are not really playing a created character. You are playing a person, and you more or less are going to be living his life. So it's more of a like feudal life sim than a actual pick your own destiny type of game. There are elements where you can do things that will affect your character to a point, but you're more or less playing his life out in this world. Mm-hmm. So it's slow. From what I've heard, you're going to be putting 20 plus hours into the game before you even really get ability to go out in the world and wander. Because you generally
who cares, man?
Well, that's
it. The longer the game, the better.
Well, the thing with that is that a lot of people will think online. Like I said, it really looks a lot like Oblivion, so they think they can just like jump in and then start going and beating people on the head. This is a game where the first 2 hours of the game, this is not really spoilers to a point, but the first 2 hours of the game are more or less like a basic tutorial. Mm-hmm. And after 2 hours, you finally get to this point and you get your ass kicked, and then you see the opening cutscene where they're giving you like the title, and you're seeing like the opening scene of a movie. Nice. You know what I mean? Like where the title card comes up and stuff like that. And you get your ass kicked. I died like 6 times during the tutorial because they literally throw you in the world and you have no idea what you're doing. The game has done a fantastic job of that because you basically are playing a blacksmith's son, and it's a feudal world. So you are not military trained. You're like, yeah. I think the character's probably like 16 or 17 years old.
Just a guy.
Yeah. So it's like when you go against somebody that's an actual trained soldier, it's not like other games where it's like you have a chance. No, you're going to get your ass fucking kicked and you're dead. So it's that bad. And from what I've heard, the game progresses that way, where it's like when you're playing the game, it's a level-based game. So the more you sword fight, the better you get. But it's still one of those things where if you fight against somebody that's better than you, you're going to die. You can still fight and you might be able to do it. But the one guy I was listening to that was reviewing a little bit of it basically said, if you're fighting against somebody that's a higher level than you, we'll say higher level, you can't touch them because they'll block, repose, or basically parry everything you do. And there's like no way around it to a point. But
if it's based on how high you can get, I am gonna fuck people up.
So, but it's like I said, the only thing I can see that would be if people get this and they think it's Oblivion, they're going to be highly disappointed.
Yeah.
If you're getting a game where you want to play an RPG, and this is an RPG, you are playing a role and you have to play the role you've been given. that wants a very, very difficult but rewarding combat system, then this game is probably going to be right up your alley. But if you're looking for like Oblivion in the 1400s, you're not going to get it. You're going to play it for, you're going to get so bored in the first part of the game, you're probably going to stop playing it.
Yeah.
Now, the only detriment I have.
Good. Let's weed them out.
Well, the only detriment I have with the game is the save system to a point, and at some point I really, really, really like it, and another point it's also really, really fucking annoying. There's only three ways to save the game. First, anytime you sleep. Oh, by the way, you have to sleep. You have to eat.
Yeah.
If you don't sleep, your character will start basically becoming a narcoleptic, and you'll just you can't. It literally
you'll just pass out.
You're like the screen will start looking like you're blinking.
That's awesome.
And it's like you have to sleep. You have to eat. If you don't eat, you will basically have the same thing happen. You have health, food, and tired, and then you have an energy bar. So if your tiredness gets too low, your energy will drop, which means that anytime you do anything, running, jumping, skipping, you're not going to be able to do it effectively. If you don't, so you have to manage you have to eat. You have to do that. Eating means getting money or going out and hunting. And right now, you can't even leave the town really where I'm at. So you have to earn a job to get money to buy
so
food.
Skipping is confirmed.
Can you skip in the game?
You can run, but you can't.
You said skipping.
You can probably jump and skip.
Then.
You said skipping.
So the only way you can save is by sleeping. Anytime you're doing you're in a story part, the game will save during story parts. All right. The third way you do it is called Save Your Schnapps. All right. Save Your Schnapps is an item you can buy off vendors, which is extremely expensive. And everything on vendors is extremely expensive. So I'm really curious on how you earn the money you need.
Like peppermint schnapps?
Yeah, like schnapps, like getting drunk. Save Your Schnapps gets you slightly drunk, but saves your game at whatever point you drink the Save Your Schnapps.
Weird.
You have a limited supply of these. You either buy them off vendors, you can find them occasionally and buy, when you're doing stuff, sometimes stealing them, and sometimes you can find them on people when you kill, but it's very, very limited. So the aspect is this is not a game where you can basically just go save, load, save, load, save, load, save, load. All right. If you do things and you die,
you're going back a ways.
You go back to wherever you loaded last. So it's one of those where you really have to weigh your decisions on how you do things, because if you're going to just try to use your schnapps up constantly, you're going to run out of saves and you're going to have
wasted.
So you can't walk into a room and go, there's a locked chest over there. I'm going to save real quick and see if I can unlock that chest. All right. You have to really weigh your decisions in the game and what you're going to do. You know what I mean? You can't walk into an engagement and save it and then try to play through it 6 different times. So it really isn't. Like I said, one aspect it's really, really cool. Another aspect it's kind of really annoying because we've really been spoiled with the whole saving elements in a lot of other games.
The one thing I was reading about it that seemed really is that they do a really good job of putting you in the world. Like if you go to somebody's shop and it's the middle of the night, they ain't gonna be there.
They're not there.
If you go to a quest location and they're in bed, they're gonna be pissed that you woke them up.
They won't even deal with you, and they'll be pissed that you fucking woke them up. Yes. The game works on real time.
Yeah.
Or real time, which to say.
Or the NPC should be there normally, but they happen to be doing something else and they'll be back later.
If they say that if you have to meet somebody between these hours, you have to meet them between those hours.
Right.
And if you don't, there's going to be repercussions for you not doing it. Like right now in the world, I'm in a situation where I have to meet up with one of the Lord's sons thing, and I have to meet him the next morning at the crack ass of dawn. They don't tell you what time. They just say be there at dawn. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to sleep, get up, go and run to that position, and then hopefully he'll be standing there, and then the storyline will kick through. But it's the same thing. It's like beforehand. What happened is I was supposed to meet somebody to train in sword fighting, and I talked to him and then I immediately went to the area where I was supposed to meet them for sword fighting, and he wasn't there. And the reason he wasn't there is because it was 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. He wasn't going there.
Sure, yeah.
So if his character was still back eating dinner with the other characters, so I went home, slept, came back, and then he was sitting there outside the next morning. So yeah, everybody in the game world works on their own schedule.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to a shop, you have to go during the shop's hours. If you want to go talk to somebody, you have to go when their ability, ready to talk. So, and that's like I said, it's definitely something we can. The immersion level in the game is to the 10th degree.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That people really like that about it.
Yeah, like I said, the only downside to the save system is definitely is a learning curve. The only issue I have with the game is loading times. Every dialogue scene has loading, and it's a substantial load. And I'm running on a fucking good system, 32 gigs. I got a 1080, 4970K. So I'm not on a slouch of a computer, and this game still loads. Talk to somebody, it loads.
Yeah.
All right. While you're running around the world, no loading whatsoever. You stop to talk to somebody, it goes into a load screen. Now, the reason behind that probably has everything to do with the way the talking and everything is completely 100% voiced. The lip syncing is fantastic. Some of the cut scenes, you can see the lip syncing was probably done for a different language because it seems to be off just enough to where it's noticeable. But anytime you talk to anybody, there's a loading scene, and that can get really annoying when you're dealing with shops and selling stuff. But there's so many elements to the game that are awesome. I mean, it's definitely something that it's a time sink, but it's not a game you can turn on and play for an hour and then turn off. That's the downside of it, and that's mostly due to the save system, because you have to play it, and then you might be in the middle of something that you can't stop and save unless you have saver stops. And if you don't have saver stops, you can't save until you get to a point where you can either sleep or it auto saves for you. So it's something where you literally have to dedicate like some time to. That's about probably the only thing I'd really say is like really, really negative in the game. So
that's interesting. I don't know.
It's like I said, it's awesome.
It sounds like a really cool game.
It's a really cool game, but it's an RPG to like the 10th degree. I mean, it is you are playing a role and you have to play the role.
Yeah.
So.
So that was I think that was probably the biggest release this week.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be fairly successful because it's definitely something we haven't seen in a long, long time. And the game is it's beautiful. I mean, the game is beautiful. It really, really is. So this is definitely a Kickstarter that I think is going to earn a rep for being one of the successful Kickstarters.
Yeah.
So
along with Divinity.
Yeah.
It's good to see Kickstarters actually doing something. So that's all I got. Anything else? Anybody think of anything? No. Okay. So yeah. What? Okay.
I didn't say anything.
So yeah, that's all we have for this week. Thanks for checking us out. If you haven't followed, please do so. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, all those awesome things. We do this every Friday at 8 Eastern time. So check us out next week. Thanks for watching.